My name is Jordan Pearson. I'm recording this video presentation for Kim Corbett. I hope this reaches you in good health. This is my favorite band of all time, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I'm going to discuss their musical transformation over the past 40 years being together. I'm really going to try and talk stream of consciousness as much as I can. I have a set of notes here, but hopefully this reaches you in good health, and here we go. The band was formed in 1983 by singer Anthony Kiedis, guitarist Hill Slovak, bassist Flea, and the drummer Jack Irons. They released their debut album, self-entitled The Red Hot Chili Peppers, in August of '84. While it didn't achieve much traditional sales success, they got a lot of college radio play as well as some airplay on MTV, so they developed a little bit of a fan base from that. The next two albums they put out, Freaky Stanley and the Uplift Mofo Party Plan, were heavily influenced by heroin and the band's use as well as the producer's use. EMI was their production company at the time, gave them $5,000 to produce their album, and $2,000 was immediately spent on drugs, much to the chagrin of some band members. Kiedis himself didn't really have the drive to be a musician anymore. He was half asleep in most of the rehearsals. He didn't have the passion that he used to have. The recording process was difficult, with both Slovak and Kiedis ducking out to get drugs and stuff like that. All these issues came into a head on June 25th of 1988 when Slovak died of an overdose. Kiedis wasn't able to deal with the reality of the situation. He fled the city. He didn't attend the funeral. He really didn't he viewed the whole thing as a dream. It was surreal to him. Irons left the band. He couldn't watch he'd already seen one friend die, and he couldn't watch another one kill himself. So eventually he went on to bigger and better things and joining Pearl Jam, but he left the band. So 1988, they're sitting there missing two band members, so they have to replace a guitarist and a drummer. The guitarist came in the form of Frusciante. They were introduced in 1988. He joined the band in September of 1988. He was an amazing guitarist. He saw a lot of the band's stuff in the past, so he really fit into the band well. As for the drummer, that came in the form of Chad Smith. A friend told him that he was the best drummer he'd ever seen. They auditioned him. He was amazing, but he came from a very different background in biker bar, heavy metal stuff. He had a heavy metal look. He had hair like it. After much debate, Kiedis eventually allowed Chad Smith to join the band full time on one condition, that he had to cut his hair. But Chad Smith rejected his request, and Anthony Kiedis eventually let him in either way. Unlike the Mofo Party Plan and unlike their first two albums, Mother's Milk was a lot easier to record, and the fact that drugs weren't really heavily involved in the process. In 1990, they really, hit the big time after Mother's Milk. They got into a little bit of a bidding war with the studios, eventually signing with Warner Brothers. Their producer didn't really see the traditional style of recording as being their best strength, so they rented out a house, which happened to be Harry Houdini's old house, up in the Hollywood Hills. They recorded the entire album there, living, working, and essentially, never leaving the house, which they all recognized was haunted. Chad Smith really he didn't stay in the house overnight just because they all recognized that it was haunted, while Frusciante took a different approach and saw the ghost as a good spirit. They recorded the entire album, Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic, here, and it didn't have a title actually, but Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic really got its title from, it was just a track on the album and it really stuck. It was really unexpected success. It really turned him into rock stars overnight, and Frusciante overall was really troubled by it. He wasn't able to deal with the popularity of the band, and eventually ended up leaving for personal reasons, just not being able to agree with the total direction of the band. So they needed a new guitarist. They brought in Dean Navarro for a while. They recorded one hot minute in 1995. It was really a waste of an album. Dean Navarro clashed with their style and the fact that he played all these guitar riffs while he had no interest in jam banding. It went against the other three members of the band's whole musical philosophy. Eventually, Dean Navarro was kicked out of the band mutually, But it didn't work out, and to this day, it's still an interesting aspect on the fact that he appears on a Simpsons episode in 1992 as a member of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I just think that's really funny. But eventually, they realize Frusciante is the guy for them. In the time that he had quit the band, he had developed a really, really serious drug problem. When they came to him, he cleaned up his act, and eventually he said nothing would make him happier in the world than returning to the band. It really, came back to its jam band roots, and they put out Californication in 1999. It was over a year of production, but it was an amazing album in the fact that Frusciante's return, as well as Anthony Kiedis' improvement as a vocalist, really made it a breakout album for them. Hits like Other Side, Californication, Scar Tissue were, huge hits. Some of the first songs that I ever heard of the Red Hot Chili Peppers that made me fall in love with them. Their next two albums, By the Way and Stadium Arcadium, really followed kind of the same process. Amazing albums focused on Frusciante as a guitarist as well, and as well as a vocalist, helping out Anthony Kiedis. They had a lot of success with their Live at Clyde Park Warren album in London, which they released. Stadium Arcadium was a two-sided album. Danny California, Tell Me Baby, all these amazing Snow, Desecration Smile, Humpty Bump, all these amazing singles came out of their album in 2006. At this time, actually, Frusciante brought on Josh Klinghoffer, who eventually became, after Frusciante's final departure in 2007, Klinghoffer came on as the full-time guitarist. In the meantime, Flea took music theory classes. He joined a supergroup, but when the band came back together in late 2009, they put together I'm With You, released in 2011. It was really the leftovers that didn't get included on Stadium Arcadium, but it was the first album that included numbers from Josh Klinghoffer as their guitarist. They were inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2012. Klinghoffer was the youngest member actually ever inducted to the Hall, passing Stevie Wonder. In January of this year, actually, they played the Super Bowl. They played an awesome show with Bruno Mars. It was pre-recorded. There was some debate on whether they actually played instruments. But this year, they've also confirmed the release of an album that they're working on starting this month, actually, as well as a new Greatest Hits album. Looking back, their main Blood Sugar Sex Magic produced in the mansion. It's just still looking back. The fact that they lived and worked in that setting is amazing. The other two albums that really stick for me are Californication, which is the return of Frusciante, really getting back to what the band was all about, and as well as By the Way and Stadium Arcadium, just kind of continuing along their commercial success. I love this band. I could talk about this band all day. I really hope this reaches you in all good health, Professor Corbett, and I'd love to come talk to you or anything like that. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.